If my family had been murdered and I had been left to burn and die alongside them, yet somehow survived, I would be consumed with the desire to get my revenge. Revenge is a very unique concept and one that is used in all types of media. However, recently I feel that games specifically have started to explore revenge not from the perspective of glorifying it and making it out to be some righteous endeavor, but instead a costly one. When I think of revenge from this perspective, the one game that sticks out to me is The Last of Us Part 2. Ellie's lust for revenge cost her everything. As I've played through Ghost of Yotei, I wondered what price Atsu would pay in seeking revenge against the Yotei 6 because up to this point in the game so far, it's been on the house. In Part 3, I covered the hunt for the Kitsune and described that section of the game as my favorite so far. Part 4 begins with Atsu hunting down Lord Sato's sons, the dragon, and the spider. The only lead we have to go off of was an Odachi master. I made my way to this Odachi master who taught me how to use the extra long katana, which is meant to counter the brutes. It is a heavy weapon that is slow to swing but hits hard and can deal a lot of stagger damage to the brute enemies, making them pretty easy to deal with. Like all other weapon learning quests, this one is short and simple, and completing it gives us a little more background on the two. Our next move had us infiltrating Sato's training camp in the marshlands of Ezo. We casually walk right into the camp pretending to be a new recruit, and for a second I legitimately thought that the game was about to let me get away with it, but the very first guard we speak to is quick to recognize Atsu as the Onryo, which leads to him being permanently deleted. We sneak our way through the camp, taking out a lot of the enemies along the way, and eventually find the man of the hour, Lord Sato himself.
Wait. Impossible. The swordsmith's daughter. I watched that tree burn. How did you escape?
Same way. I survived every battle. The thought of killing you.
Walk with me. Life has not been kind to you, has it, little wolf?
Don't call me that.
Tell me, when you were fighting all those battles, did you ever find a lord willing to name you samurai?
No, I didn't.
The shoguns Matsumai don't want warriors like you and me. They want dogs, men who can be trained, made loyal.
You're not different. Only instead of honor, you promise people freedom. To keep their swords, to become samurai. It's all bullshit to make them serve you.
Except the Matsumai would never give a woman a sword. The shogun would say, a wolf cannot be tamed. He may be right. But I'm still tempted to try.
I for one appreciate Sato trying to recruit Atsu. He recognizes her ability and in some sort of sick, twisted way thinks that she'd be willing to join him. Of course, that was never going to happen, and the only thing to be done in this moment is just fight. Unlike Solid Snake, age has slowed Sato down quite a bit. This fight was not challenging in the least bit, and it was kind of underwhelming even when you consider that Sato clearly wasn't taking this fight very seriously. As the fight progresses, as usual, Clan Matsumai ruins everything and starts attacking the camp, forcing Sato to flee. Atsu is able to survive thanks to our one-armed pal, Hanbei. Hanbei speaks with Atsu, and seeing that she is hell-bent on killing Sato, he tries to convince her to just live her life and stop chasing death. Bound by the promise to bring her family peace, Atsu cannot relent. Atsu then heads back home where she meets with Jubei, who is visiting his home for the first time since the night his parents were murdered. After some reminiscing and a game of Zeni Hajiki, Oyuki shows up. Not knowing that Jubei was Atsu's brother, she reveals her true identity to him, which of course has him fuming. It's completely understandable, and Jubei starts to criticize Atsu's willingness to sacrifice anyone and anything, even herself, in her pursuit of revenge. Oyuki reveals that Seito is headed to Oshima Coast, which leads Jubei to believe that Seito and his clan are planning an attack on Matsumai Castle. It's a shame we could not have gotten that critical piece of information any sooner, because sure enough, Seito's army, led by the dragon and the spider, have launched a full-scale invasion on the region. Eventually, the two run into Jubei, and the three head off towards Matsumai Castle in the hopes of getting there before the invasion begins. Unfortunately, they are a little too late.
Saito has a fleet?
More soldiers will be landing.
It's a full-scale invasion. We have to stop them.
Using the cover of night, the three sneak through Seito's army and save some civilians along the way. In this section, we finally get the Tanegashima. I probably just butchered that, but basically this game's musket, if you will, which is a cool addition, but to be frank, it's such a slow weapon to use that I used it maybe a total of 3 times the entire game. We fight off and dispatch the would-be executioners and find that the little girl that was next in line to be terminated was Kiku, Jubei's daughter. This revelation, along with his life as a samurai, now closes the cycle on his lack of lust for revenge. He even mentioned earlier that we must fight for the living, and it all makes sense. He has not wanted revenge, not for a lack of believing in it, but because he has something far more important to live for, something that Atsu does not have: family. The four leave and arrive at Oshima Coast and go their separate ways. Oshima Coast is a nice looking region, but it's not the best. Sure, we have some cherry blossoms adding some pop to the otherwise overly green land here, but beyond that, that's pretty much it. Atsu is escorted into Matsumai Castle, where we get to see Jubei's home. We see Jubei and Kiku working on a flower arrangement, getting a glimpse of the kind of relationship that the two have. Jubei leaves to speak with his commander, while Atsu stays with Kiku and works on a flower arrangement with her. Once done, Kiku takes us to the castle to meet with Jubei, but along the way we see people in need of medicine that Clan Matsumai is rationing and prioritizing for the injured samurai. Kiku, being a young and innocent soul, convinces Atsu to break into the storage room and take some medicine for those in need. The two get caught as they're leaving, but Kiku talks her way out of it. The guard then escorts Atsu to the war room, where they discuss the plan to capture the dragon who had taken control of a nearby lighthouse. Now listen, in the interest of time, and because a lot of what happens here isn't all that interesting, I'm going to speed things up just a little bit. This is going to allow me to spend more time in the video talking about my thoughts on the game as a whole. Jubei and Atsu go to the lighthouse and take on the dragon and his men. Atsu gets close to capturing him, but he manages to escape. The crew comes up with a plan then to lure the dragon by capturing his brother, the spider. With Kiku's help, Atsu and Oyuki sneak into the spider's compound. He's basically throwing a party and has some performers performing. Atsu and Oyuki sneak around and make their way to the performers' quarters. Once there, Atsu picks a mask and uses it to disguise herself and makes her way to the spider to perform Night of the Burning Tree. These sick bastards made a performance out of the worst night of Atsu's life. That clearly made something inside Atsu snap because, and I mean this sincerely, to my absolute surprise,
Screaming!
And who are you supposed to be?
It's the swordsmith's daughter!
The Night of the Burning Tree deserves a new ending.
we unlock Ghost Mode. This is the point where Ghost of Yotei shows its hand. It doesn't want revenge to feel good, but it also doesn't want it to feel devastating. And I've played this story before, not just in The Last of Us Part 2, but in modern games that are afraid to let revenge either fully succeed or fully destroy the player. It's also worth mentioning here that Kiku is very disturbed at seeing her auntie covered in blood. Lots and lots of blood. This brief conversation here, I believe, serves to further paint the separation between Atsu and the Onryo and highlights what side she has really kind of aligned herself with. After we defeat the spider, we take him prisoner to use him as bait in the hopes that the dragon will come to his rescue when Clan Matsumai executes him. But first, we head off over to Jubei's house.
There you are. There are rumors everywhere about you. About the Onryo massacring the spider's men.
I hope the dragon and Saito hear every last detail.
I am more concerned about you, Atsu. Every time you're near a member of the Yotei Six, it's like I don't recognize you.
The Onryo will not bring peace.
They were performing the Night of the Burning Tree. I thought you understood. That you wanted to help me.
I do. I just...
We aren't sure this path you're on is helping you.
I know what I'm doing. Now where's the spider?
He's being held under guard. You can see him, but we're coming with you.
Lead the way.
The end stages of the game start to pivot from wanting the player to be in favor of Atsu's hunt for revenge, and instead start to really question if it is actually worth the heavy cost. Anyway, before the spider is executed, Atsu, Kiku, Jubei, and Oyuki go on a field trip. This part serves not just as a bonding experience, but an example of the life Atsu could have had she not dedicated her life to revenge, or maybe possibly the life that she can still have. Not only that, but we also see the game use Kiku as a reflection of Atsu, and to me, Kiku's kind of like a blank canvas. She shows the signs of being a mini Atsu, which, as badass as Atsu is, I think we can all agree we wouldn't want the future generation to turn out like her. However, because she is so young and has not been through what Atsu and Jubei have, there is hope for her to grow up and live a better life than the two of them. Now, before we set off our plan in motion to lure the dragon out of hiding to come save his little brother, I went out and found myself a guy that gave me a pistol, and for a split second, Ghost of Yotei had me feeling like I was a bloodborne hunter. But again, for like a split second, nothing more. Execution day arrives. Everything is ready to go, except nothing, of course, goes according to plan. Instead of attacking via the water, Saito uses empty ships to trick the Matsumai and launches an attack on land from the complete opposite side of the castle. Saito and the dragon show up to save the spider, and upon seeing Saito, Atsu considers this as her chance once again to erase the Saito family tree for good. But once again, the game starts to present the cost of revenge.
Atsu! Kiku is in danger. I need your help.
Saito is here.
Your niece could die. Please, let it go, sister.
I can't.
This is the point where Ghost of Yotei begins to ask something uncomfortable of the player. Atsu's pursuit of revenge has narrowed her vision so completely that judgment gives way to instinct. Faced with a choice to help Jubei and Kiku or to finish the hunt, Atsu doesn't hesitate. She chases the dragon. There is a painful irony here. Atsu claims to be honoring her family through revenge, yet in this moment, that same obsession pulls her away from the only family she has left. The game doesn't frame this as cruelty or even malice. It presents it as an inevitability. What happens when revenge is the only life you've ever known. Of course, the dragon frees his brother, and as I suspected all along, we fight the two at the same exact time. Now, this fight wasn't fun at all. It was frustrating having to deal with the spider's attacks from range and the dragon's lightning fast shots. It took several attempts, but eventually I killed the dragon as the spider could do nothing but watch. Being the coward that he is, he runs away and Atsu chases after him, unable or unwilling to stop. What she finds instead is a castle engulfed in flames. Castle Matsumai, much like Atsu herself, has been lost. This is the first tangible cost of her pursuit of revenge. The only people left in her life, her brother, whom she thought was dead, and Oyuki, arguably her only friend, are gone. But this loss isn't just personal, it's the game's clearest reminder that the cost of revenge is rarely paid by the person who wants it the most. Atsu runs back to the temple where we had our little field trip earlier and finds Kiku alive and well.
You're alive.
Lady Oyuki and father held off the soldiers. He told me to run. Is he with you? We have to go back. We have to find them.
The castle's fallen, Kiku.
But father...
I know. But Jubei would want you to be safe. We have to go. I'm sorry.
Atsu and Kiku head off and we begin to formulate a plan to find Jubei and Oyuki. Kiku thinks they're dead, but Atsu of course believes that they must be alive.
Saito can't get away with this. I'll kill him! And save father. Why weren't you there for him?
Because I was angry. Like you are now. Saito and the Yotei 6 murdered your grandparents. And they shot your father and tried to burn me alive. I swore I'd hunt them down to bring our family peace.
But you are an Onryo. You only brought death.
Kiku, I'm so sorry. Jubei and Oyuki are alive, Kiku. I will find the spider and fix this. I promise.
This conversation begins to cement a change in Atsu. Kiku's words, though razor sharp, also come with a sting of truth. A truth that Atsu needed to hear. We first needed to find the spider once again. And that was actually going to be easy because Saito practically disowned his last remaining son for failing to protect his big brother. While he was in prison, Spider had mentioned of his clan's burial grounds and where it was located, so Atsu made her way there. And of course, that's where we found the spider.
May you find safe passage to your next life, brother. Come to cross another name off your list?
Not if you give me answers. Your father took Oyuki and my brother.
I told him to cut off their heads, leave them for you to find. But father never listens to me.
They're alive. Tell me where they are.
You murder my brother and expect me to help rescue yours?
The other grave. You lost someone else?
Our sister, Fumi. She starved to death after your father deserted us. She was just learning to walk.
I'm sorry. Is that why you slaughtered my family? For justice?
There's no justice in this life. Only pain and the bottom of a sake jar.
When Atsu finally confronts the spider at the graves, the conversation reframes everything that we've learned so far. He speaks about his sister Fumi, a baby who barely had time to live, and how her death was blamed on Atsu's father abandoning them. The spider says there is no justice in this world, only pain. And in that moment, it's hard not to see him as a reflection of what Atsu is becoming. Alone, defined by loss, carried forward by anger rather than purpose. The spider, the dragon, and Sato all believed revenge would give meaning to what they had lost, but instead it stripped them of everything else. And standing there, listening to him speak, it becomes clear that Atsu isn't just hunting the last of her enemies, she's staring down the future she's been racing toward all along. This fight against the spider was a bit different because now, having potentially lost her brother and Oyuki and almost losing Kiku, Atsu begins to see that revenge ain't all it is cut out to be. Very similar to my fight against Oyuki in episode 3, this fight felt a bit gross. This, however, proved to be the pivotal moment in Atsu's growth as a person.
End it. I'm all alone now. Avenge your family!
I have a new family now.
My father is holding them prisoner. I'll take you to them. Meet me at the ferry crossing to the north.
You would betray your father?
He abandoned me.
After a brief conversation with Kiku back home, Atsu heads back to the ferry we took earlier in the game and meets the spider, who takes her directly to Koga Fortress, Sato's personal fortress. We see a brief scene of Sato speaking with Jubei and Oyuki, and long story short, he plans to execute Jubei and has something far more devious planned for Oyuki. Atsu sneaks into the fortress and is able to save Jubei from execution just in the nick of time. The two fight through waves of samurai and make their way to Oyuki and save her as well. At this point, we discover that Sato is waiting for Atsu where everything began, her home. We make her escape through more samurai and a rain of bombs and gunfire, and eventually make it back home where we find Kiku and Sato waiting for us. Atsu showed the spider mercy, the first sign of her finally realizing that revenge is not the way. I expected her to just throw herself at Sato seeing him here, but I found her burning the sash with the 6 names symbolizing her finally letting go of her lust for revenge. This didn't mean that she would let Sato go. He did let Kiku go on the condition that he and Atsu duel and end things once and for all. His motivation was the death of his sons, and her motivation being her new family. Being the last boss fight of the game, it had everything I expected it to have. It had tension, it had a great build-up, it had an excellent choice of location. I really like that with this fight, the game practically brings Atsu's journey full circle, wrapping things up in her home, where it all began. It's a truly personal way of avenging her parents with him right there, in a manner of speaking. I beat his first phase, and just when I thought things were finally going our way,
Jubei.
Oyuki is with Kiku. I will hold him off. We will protect this family.
So, a boy has become a man.
I am a samurai, a brother, and a father!
Jubei! I'm with you!
loyalty to each other only gives you something to lose. Atsu!
Jubei.
For the living.
Sato's second phase is tough. Very, very, very tough. He hits harder and faster than anyone else before him. I found it frustrating how quickly some of his red glint attacks came out. At times, it felt as if there was just no way to evade or block, and all I could do was be selective with which of his attacks I'd actually end up eating. After numerous attempts, I finally learned his pattern and tells and beat him. A truly satisfying, almost ironic, poetic defeat that Sato faced here, ultimately being pinned to the very same tree he pinned Atsu to long ago. This was a powerful moment, one where even I kind of let out a sigh of relief. But sadly, this moment of satisfaction was incredibly short-lived.
Alone. Come, little wolf.
Atsu. You'll never be alone.
Sato is dead. Jubei is dead. Atsu finally got her revenge, and even though by this point in the game she had let go of that lust for blood, the time had come for vengeance to collect its price. They say that while seeking revenge, one should dig two graves, one being for the person seeking the revenge and one for the person that you're out to, I guess, exact that revenge upon. In Ghost of Yotei, that second grave ends up being for Jubei. Yet I'd go as far as to say that, to some degree, Atsu, or maybe the Onryo, also died that day too, in some way. The game basically ends with Atsu, Kiku, and Oyuki living together after the events of the game. I loved Ghost of Yotei. I love the gameplay, I love the setting, I love the visuals, I love the music. The entire package as a whole is a good game. If I were to look at Ghost of Yotei under a microscope, I'd say the gameplay, like Tsushima, was excellent, and I'd even say better and tighter. It had its frustrating elements, but that mostly came down to skill rather than the game being difficult or unfair. The different themes that Yotei touched upon were well done for the most part. I think the strongest part of this game in that respect is the Kitsune segment where we talked about redemption. The weakest, however, is the game's handling of revenge. It's not so much that I think that Ghost of Yotei did a bad job with the theme. I think it did an excellent job of showing us how ugly and costly revenge is to everyone involved and not involved. The thing is, this has already been done before with The Last of Us Part 2, which I'll tell you is an amazing game, and one that I do plan to cover on this channel at some point in the near future. If The Last of Us Part 2 had not already done this, I think I'd have a greater appreciation for Yotei's ending. The other issue I have with the ending here is that killing Jubei almost feels like a cop-out, the easy thing to do from a narrative perspective. Ghost of Tsushima had us fight our own uncle and then decide whether we'd kill him and give him a warrior's death or spare him and have him live his life in shame. That's a very, very uncomfortable and saddening decision to have a player make, especially at the very end of the game. All in all, I started the series to answer the question, is Ghost of Yotei really just Ghost of Tsushima 1.5, or is it able to stand on its own? The answer is that when it comes to gameplay mechanics, setting, visuals, etc., yes, Yotei is Tsushima 1.5, and that's not a bad thing. However, when it comes to story and thematic narrative, Yotei does stand on its own, just not next to Ghost of Tsushima. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my first ever PlayView series. Thank you for being a part of this journey. I had a blast not just playing the game, but doing these videos for you. Thank you for the incredible reception, the comments, and feedback. I look forward to seeing you on my next PlayView that you voted on, a game that I'm surely will both terrify and mystify me. If you enjoyed this series, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can be a part of the next one. I'll see you soon, and until then, be good to yourselves, be good to one another. Peace out.